that there is no magic stick, right? There is no perfect recipe. We learn every day.
Professor Guido, to start with, I can't express enough what joy is for me to sit down and talk to you today. Being totally honest, when I first thought about having How is Life Treating You show, I never expected that one of my guests will be a professor from HEC and a guru in leadership. I think I prepared for this episode and I have too many questions to say, so please bear with me and kindly consider me as one of your students for today.
Thank you very much for having me here tonight. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you
and
so
I
much.
very much look forward to our conversation on leadership and beyond.
Thank you so much, same here. A bit of introduction. You are an expert in leadership and cultural intelligence. You are currently a professor of leadership in HEC, Qatar. You were previously a professor of global leadership in Nanyang Business School and an associate dean as well. You got during your career multiple teaching awards, a teacher of the year from a couple of universities. Before you step into education field, you spent around decades in having multiple executive roles in different fields.
I had a life before education.
We'll talk about it. In different fields, focusing mainly on security and aviation. You are as well a LinkedIn influencer. Some of your articles on leadership grabbed the attention of more than 9 million viewers. You are honorary consul of Romania in Geneva.
I see you are very well prepared. I'm impressed.
I did my best. So once again, thank you for coming.
It's my pleasure.
Professor Guido, how you would like to introduce yourself?
Look, I am a 60 years old Swiss Italian. I love teaching. This is my passion as well as my job. And why do I love it? Because it's an opportunity to share, to give something to others while at the same time learning from them. That's me.
Okay. Professor, just to get to know you more, if you are to meet a replica of yourself, and you met him on a business meeting, so post this meeting, what would be your first impression about Professor Guido Gianasso, in short?
That's a fantastic question, and it's the first time that
you get this.
It's a very good question. I would probably think somebody who is passionate, who is occasionally may be perceived as a bit arrogant, but once you know him well, you discover that there is a heart beating.
Okay. Okay. If you met the same guy for 30 days, and this relationship developed to personal discussion, and you met him outside business hours, what you would say more about Professor Guido?
Probably fun to deal with, a bit too intense maybe.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
To be taken in homeopathic doses.
Okay, thank you, Professor. You probably know what I'm gonna ask you now, right?
I'm afraid
The main question of the show, which is, how is life treating you? So, Professor, how is life treating you in short?
Look, life is a challenging journey, right? Because we all go through high and lows.
Okay.
We all are confronted with significant challenges. We win some battles, we lose many. And sometimes when we look ahead of us, we ask ourselves, will we make it? Will we be able to overcome it? And then, of course, in my life, I had challenges.
Okay.
There were moments where I was really down at work. My work was sometimes difficult. I had to deal with CEOs with significant egos, with great ambitions, with somehow moody approaches to the relationship. And I had to somehow manage that. But in the end, at age 60, you look back, you start thinking about leadership legacy. You ask yourself, how did I do? And am I leaving anything behind me, right? And when it comes to the question of what did I do, it's not too bad. I have a loving family. I have still the ability to move around and do what I like to do. And I have probably the best job in the world. I'm saying the best job in the world, and And I believe that
Very good.
teaching executive programs and executive is one of the most exciting jobs you can dream of. So that's what I did. In terms of leadership legacy, which is also important, right? The closer you come to the end of the journey, and I am in the afternoon of my life, you ask yourself, what will remain?
Okay.
And what I think will remain is the memory of a few things I thought, and perhaps some gratitude of some of the people who I have been working with, I've been teaching to, and this is great. So overall, my answer to your question is it's okay.
Very good. Now, Professor, you have a success story. For someone to be a professor in HEC and previously was well-known universities in the world, and you have been a consultant advisor for many CEOs across the globe. In short, if you want to summarize the secret behind your success, if you want to say the top 3 things that you do which helped you to become the person you are today.
Yeah, the first one is the curiosity.
Okay.
The curiosity means the fact of opening the box, wanting to explore, wanting to push the boundaries at work, in life, every day. The second one is the courage to change. Mm-hmm. Even when you are comfortable, you must be able to dare to look for what you really like to do, what you really want to do. As you probably have seen, I've changed my career direction a couple of times. For me, the most important change was decided to finish my career teaching, right?
Okay.
And this was a decision I took when I was 35. I was working on a corporate job, and I had the opportunity to attend a Harvard program, and I was there, and I thought, my God, this is fun. This is what I really want to do. But I wanted to land in education in a good way, teaching in great schools, with the possibility to have an impact. So I decided at age 35 that was my target for my 50s, and I worked.
Okay.
And I worked for it.
Okay.
This is a decision I don't regret. It was not easy because I did my PhD when I was already in my 40s. So wow. I was a full-time executive, a father, a husband, and a PhD student.
Your PhD.
And my team members at the doctoral school were 15, 20 years younger than me. Wow. And that was a challenge, right? Because I was sometimes wondering, what am I doing with these kids, right? But in the end, it was one of the best decisions I ever took.
Very good. According to a study carried by a professor from University of Illinois, leadership is 30% genetic and 70% can be learned. This study did not neglect as well the fact that leaders can be born as well because of innate traits. My question to you, whether it's 70% or 60 or 65, I believe this is a debatable discussion. But in your opinion, to which extent we can teach people to show empathy and compassion in specific?
Look, I think that the mix of DNA related and learn is definitely there, because leadership is a combination of different characteristics, right? The vision, personality, values, other attitudes, intellectual curiosity, what we call the 3 Qs, right? IQ, emotional intelligence, EQ, and cultural intelligence. So there is a lot that has to be there to make you or me a leader. Empathy and compassion are extremely important, right? They are important because, remember the famous quote, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Wow. Right? Compassion is what opens the door to trust. Trust is based on vulnerability. So these are extremely important things. They're not the only elements of leadership, right? There are others. But in today's world, compassion, empathy are an absolute necessity for leaders.
Thank you, Professor. If you are a good parent for a teen, you are more likely to be a good leader. Do you see any relationship between parenting, if any, and leadership?
You asked me a rhetorical question. You know the answer. The answer is obviously yes.
Okay.
Right? When I teach leadership and I want to make sure that the participants are there, are with me, they focus, I start talking about kids and teenagers, their kids. Okay. And you can see that immediately the class, everybody in the class becomes extremely focused and you have their attention for some time at least. Parenting is probably one of the biggest challenges many of us are confronted with. And there is no magic stick, right? There is no perfect recipe. We learn every day. Things are moving. We can be prepared, we can read, but ultimately it's the daily interaction that determines our success. And you don't have a recipe that works with everybody. You may be very successful with your first and then struggle with your second child. Okay. So you need to learn every day, you need to adapt, and you need to show empathy and compassion every day, together with patience, while at the same time, and this is very important, remaining curious and trying to understand their world, right? Okay. Their space, their environment, because the world is changing. So the values, the references that were applying to me 15 years old, they were probably not applying to you 15 years old. Enough. And to my and your children, definitely. So we need to be parents while at the same time kids with them.
Perfect. We are approaching the end of the show. Things went extremely quick. I want you to deliver a message to your family and a message to your students, if possible. Okay.
A message to my family is very simple. Thank you for giving me love and support and trust, and for forgiving me when I was not there and I should have been there. My students have been, for me, a reason of happiness, and every day I realize that, well, while I'm teaching them, I'm sharing a little bit of my knowledge, my experience, I also learn from them. Okay. And this learning is tremendously important. Plus, my students, and some of my students are very young, others are mature individuals, adults in the middle of their career. Okay. But they all convey to me and reinforce my passion, my joie de vivre, my feeling that every day is worth to be enjoyed. Every day is an opportunity for discovering, for exploring, for comparing ideas, right? Okay. And for having fun.
Okay. Since we are talking about your students, when was the last thing, if any, you learned on leadership in specific from one of your students? If you can.
One of my students? We could go on for hours and hours because I met hundreds or thousands of them, right? But a very recent case of a student who have impressed me a great deal, Qatari woman, medical doctor, who started the MBA while being pregnant by 8 months. Right? Okay. In spite of some challenges, right? Because she works, she's pregnant, and she is starting an MBA full of joy, happy, energetic, contributed to the discussion. A great story, a great person. Great. Very impressive.
Professor, thank you so much.
It has been my pleasure.
It's my pleasure and honor again to host you in my show. We had a phone call, and when I told you about what I'm trying to achieve, your answer was immediately, Nader, I'm going to support you and I'm going to be part of the show.
You're doing something really interesting.
On your personality. Thank you for being so lovely, and I do really appreciate it from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you very much for inviting me again.